Drive through the Yorkshire Dales, you'll see these beautiful stone barns littered everywhere, but they have an uncertain future. The earliest barns were built around 1600 and will continue to be built right until the early 1900s. The purpose of the barns is to house the cows through winter and also to store the hay that's cut from the meadow. So here we have a very good example of a traditional stone Yorkshire barn. This one was built in 1881. It's got two cow ends. Most only have one cow end and a hay mew. This one's got two. But it's a very good example, so we'll go and have a look inside. So here we are inside the barn. Let me show you around. This is the main purpose of the barn. This is where the cows would stand through the winter months. This is the cow stall, or abuse as we would call it. They usually have a stone piece in the middle, a stone piece here, wooden framed, a post with a slider that goes up and down. On this slider you would have a cow tie. It would consist of one piece of rope tied in the middle here. One end of the rope would have an eyelet, the other end would have a wooden toggle. Pass it around the cow's neck and tie the cow so it couldn't escape. It wouldn't be too tight, it would be quite comfortable, but it would be tight enough so that it couldn't slip itself out. So here we are in the hay mew. The hay mew is the big open area of the barn. It's just single storey with the forking hole where the hay comes in. The hay will be stacked here from floor to ceiling, and throughout the winter months you would feed the hay to the cows. You'd have other hay up on the box, we'll talk about those in a minute, but the first use of the hay will be from the hay mew to open the space up. In the early springtime the cows would then give calf, and the calves would have a room to run around in the hay mew bottom when that was empty, while we still had some hay to store to feed the cows once the calves are born. Here we are up on the box. The box is basically just a hay loft. You have a forking hole door onto the box, like you have a forking hole door into the hay mew. Basically all it is just more storage for the hay. Wooden floor, and your hay will sit on the wooden floor and be stacked right up to the rafters. So you let your cows out and they go out to drink down there, and then you would open this little door and you get your big shovel and you shovel up all the cow muck and chuck it out through the little door, and you do that twice a day. Every time you let your cows out, twice a day, you come and clean out here. You get your hay off the hay loft up on the box, and you feed all your cows, ready for them to come back in. So what you end up with outside is a massive pile of cow manure. This area is called the muck midding. So the muck would be shovelled out through, as we've just seen, out through the muck hole, and we'll collect in this little bay area here. After a few months you'd end up with a great big heap of cow muck. So you bring your muck spreader in, or prior to machinery you'd wheelbarrow it out across the field and spread it on the land. That would help the grass grow for the following year, for the next crop of hay, and it's just a cycle. Round the back of the barn now, these are what's known as the forking holes. So they're called forking holes because originally you'd use a pitchfork and fork the hay up through the hole after you'd brought it enough from the field. In latter years, when machinery was around, you'd bring the tractor and the trailer would have the bales on, and you'd throw the bales in onto the box and into the hay mew and stack up the hay ready for winter. So this is a slightly different example to what you see mostly. Most barns don't have one of these, but there is one or two dotted around our area. So if you didn't have a stream where your cows could go and drink, they often put one of these in. It's a water pump, and what would happen is the farmer would turn the handle like this, and it would draw the water from out to the ground, and it would put it into a feeding trough somewhere, which would be somewhere in this yard. But if you think there's 12 cows in there and they drink gallons and gallons of water every single day, you're going to do a lot of turning. Things like these continued to be used right up until the late 1980s. However, farming needed to change. It was becoming uneconomical to farm on a small scale like this. Larger barns with more cows in. Machinery was used to take the hay in and out, the silage. The size of the bales increased to those large round bales instead of ones that a man could lift. So everything had to change really, which now leaves the stone barns out of use. They're all laid empty now with nothing in them. Well, we can see this barn, it's just starting to deteriorate now. The slates have started to move on the roof, you can see, and the gable end's just giving way. That's allowing more and more rainwater to get in onto the timber structure of the roof, and it won't be long before this one starts to fall down. So unfortunately this is what's happening to a lot of our barns. They're falling down. So we've seen the example where the roof starts to give way. This one's got to certainly the next stage, or maybe even the one after, and the roof's actually collapsed in. Let's go and have a look inside. So inside this falling down barn you can see where the cow stalls were, the buses. It's been modernised, this one. It's got water bowls in, so they wouldn't even have to let their cows out in winter. They could just stand there all day long, get fed in the same way, food from the hay mew given to the cows in their stalls, and that's where they would sleep, drink, eat and everything else. Some barns, like this one, which is located next to a house, can be used as a workshop or a shed. If you look closely, you can still see some of the original features: the buses, the balks and the group. The Yorkshire Dales National Park Authority have recognised we've got a problem. To save some of the barns, they are now allowing more and more planning permissions to go through to allow barn conversions for houses. This is a great idea as it solves two problems. First of all, it solves the problem of the barns falling down because they get restored, and secondly, it provides housing within the local area. Barn conversions don't have to be houses, they could also be used for business use. This one is a novel example. It's part of a farm diversification plan. The farmer's actually restored the barn and is now using it as an ice cream parlour. He's restocked his farm with Jersey cows and manufactures his own ice cream, which is then sold here to the tourists visiting the area. So I guess the question is, how are we going to save the barns, or are they all going to fall down?